What's up, lovers of whiskey and watchers of YouTube? I'm the Malt activist, and today we have with us Ardbeg's Feis committee release, the very weirdly labeled Heavy Vapours. Heavy Vapours. Let's go. Before we begin, a big fat thank you to our first-time viewers. Thank you for clicking through to that thumbnail. If you like what you see and if whiskey is your jam, then this channel is the one for you. I promise we do whiskey lists, whiskey rants, whiskey reviews, whiskey vlogs, whiskey discussions, and everything in between. So, you know, if the sight of a middle-aged man telling you everything you want to know about whiskey is your cup of tea, then hit that subscribe button. Maybe like this video, maybe even leave a comment. Who knows? We're all fighting with the algorithm, so make it happen. Make it happen. To my returning viewers, thank you for keeping your standards low. It's highly appreciated. And of course, a big shout out to my Patreon and YouTube members. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for everything. Now, let's get on with the review. Okay, so here's the deal. I am not a super technical guy, and I have to make some sort of technical explanation in this video, which I'm 100% sure I'm going to get wrong at some level or the other. So if you do pick up on my mistakes, which I promise you there will be, then just leave them in the comments below and I will read them and I will be more educated. Thanks to you. Which brings us to the Ardbeg Heavy Vapours. This is what the bottle looks like. This is the Heavy Vapours. This is the official committee release of 2023's Feis or the Islay Whiskey Festival that is happening currently. Has it already started? Yes, it has, and I'm not there and I feel like shit, but it is what it is. Sometimes, you know, you need to make these decisions in life that pay the bills and not spend extravagantly on these trips. I'm just trying to console myself. I'm gutted that I couldn't go. But I have the next best thing, which is the committee release from Ardbeg, which we have in our hand here. Okay. What do I know about this? Now, before I begin, I know, I'm a self-confessed Ardbeg fanboy. I buy everything that Ardbeg releases. I'm not really ashamed of saying that. Yes, am I stupid? Of course I am. But, you know, love. What do you want me to say? So yeah, it is what it is, man. I'll buy it because it's for my shelf up there. Where are my Ardbegs? They're over there. You can't see them, and they're sitting there nicely. And it's, you know, it's what I do. It's what I do. Anyway, I've been collecting committee releases for like forever, so I'm not gonna miss out on a set. You know what I'm saying? So here we go. So we have the Ardbeg Heavy Vapours, which we bought at a rather pricey. 85-90 pounds, if I'm not mistaken, roughly around that much, which when I drank the whiskey, I realized, I'm like, there's something up with this. Okay, so I'm going to say this beforehand that I'm not very impressed. I'm not very impressed with this whiskey. But before we get to that, let me tell you why it's called Heavy Vapours. Heavy Vapours. Heavy Vapours. Vapors that are heavy. Okay, why is it called that? Okay, so this is where I'm going to get most of everything I say now is going to be wrong. So just, I mean, you're here now, aren't you? Anyway, and like I always say, this is an entertainment channel. This is not an educational channel. Don't fact check me. Don't come here looking for facts and knowledge and information. No, this is just, you know, 20 minutes of you and I just chilling. That's all it is. And sometimes, you know, sometimes we talk shit. Sometimes most of the things I say is bullshit. So it is what it is. I mean, you're not here for the education. You're here to see this pretty face. Of course you are. So anyway, this is what I know. This is what I've researched. This is what I know. And I'm going to read some stuff as well in case I get it wrong. Okay. So basically this is called Heavy Vapours because about 12 years ago, Dr. Bill Lumsden, the whiskey maker for Ardbeg, distilled a batch of new make spirit without the Ardbeg purifier in the line arm. Okay, that's what happened. They distilled one batch 12 years ago that did not have a purifier in the still in the line arm. Okay, what happened because of that? Okay, now this is where I'm going to have to read because I'm useless about, retaining information, so it is what it is. So now, what is a purifier? I'm going to read this straight up. So a purifier is a copper vessel or a pipe linking the line arm back into the pot still. Okay, so it's this cylindrical, well, shapes can vary, but generally it's a cylindrical copper vessel. I read sometimes like 1 meter in diameter and a meter and a half in length, which is sitting in the line arm. Okay, so the line arm is the arm that's leaving the still and going into the condenser. Okay, and what this purifier does is it is at a slightly cooler temperature than the temperature in the still. And so what happens is when the vapors go and come into contact with the purifier, they condense. Okay, the heavier vapors condense, and then they turn into liquid, and then they fall back into the pot for redistilling. And the slightly lighter vapors, which are the fruitier, more estery tones and the sweeter vapors, they manage to go through the purifier into the condenser on the other side, but the heavier vapors, which have the oiliness and the like the diesel oil, that sort of paraffin, that sort of flavor profile, condenses and does not go into the other condenser to be vaporized and turned back into liquid. It happens right there, and so it falls back into the pot still. And which is why Ardbeg claims that their whiskies, even though they're peaty, etc., are more on the fruitier side because of the use of this purifier. I think I've got that correct. It's obviously a little more complex than I'm making it out to be, but it's essentially a tool to let lighter, sweeter, fruitier, estier vapors, estier? Is that a word? I don't know. Anyway, the lighter, sweeter vapors, esterier? Okay, fine, that's not the point. The lighter, fruitier, sweeter vapors, it allows it to travel through into the condenser to be turned into liquid, and then the heavier ones, the oily, heavy ones, are not, and then they condense and become liquid, and they fall back into the pot still. I think that's more or less it. I'm going to read what I found on a site. It's called Dave's Whiskey Reviews. I've just read this one article, but it seems to have done the job. It says, a purifier is a pipe linking the line arm back to the pot. The idea is to increase reflux by causing any heavy compounds or condensed liquid in the line arm to fall down the purifier pipe and back into the pot to redistill, allowing only the lightest and most volatile compounds and alcohols to reach the condenser and spirit safe. This, in theory, should result in a lighter whiskey with less heavy or oily flavors. So yeah, I think I got that. So not that hard. But I had heard about the Ardbeg purifiers. In fact, it was pointed out to us during a distillery visit, but I didn't really quite understand what it was for until I sort of read this, and now I recall being told by the tour guide that this is it basically increases the reflux and makes the whiskey more lighter and sweeter. So that's what a purifier does. Now, not everyone has a purifier. There are apparently 8 or 9 different distilleries that have it. Glen Grant is one of them. Hold on, I had a whole list over here. Glen Grant has them. Edrodor, Glen Spey, Strathmill, Ardbeg, of course, Glenlossie, Tormore, Scapa, and Talisker. And there's apparently a water-cooled purifier and a non-water-cooled purifier. Okay, but I don't think we really need to get into that. Let's talk about the whiskey heavy vapors and why. Why is it called heavy vapors? Well, it's called heavy vapors because 12 years ago, Dr. Bill Lumsden distilled a batch of Ardbeg which had in a still that did not have a purifier, which means it should have allowed for a lot more of the heavier vapors, hence the name, heavier vapors to pass through the line arm into the condenser to be liquefied or condensed, whatever, right? And so apparently they only did this with one batch, and since that was 12 years ago, we can, I guess, safely assume that this whiskey is around 11 years old, give or take. And the whole reason behind bottling this whiskey is that one experiment that they did, which was, hey, let's take the purifier out and see what happens. And then 11 years later, I ended up paying £100 for this bottle. That's how whiskey making works. You know, Dr. Bill Lumsden dreams up an experiment, and bang, 10 years later, I am out of substantial amount of money. So it is what it is. I've signed up for it. I'm not going to complain. It's just ridiculous complaining all the time about everything. So I don't want to, but okay. Anyway, let's not go there. Let's talk about the whiskey. Okay, what do we know about this whiskey? It is bottled at 50.2% ABV. It is, of course, non-chill filtered. It is natural color. So always thank you for that, Ardbeg. It is a mix of bourbon barrels. I think a mix of first and second. And when you see the color, you'll kind of realize, and I think there's more second in there than there's first. Let's read the label. Okay, it says something weird is going down at the distillery. The purifier responsible for Ardbeg's what? Exalted balance is missing, and this whiskey is the consequence. Heavy vapors have risen, making the dram the most full-blown Ardbeg ever. Enter a hero to save it. Oh, what does that mean? Interplanetary Detective Agent 46 arrives at the distillery, determined to save Ardbeg as we know it. Can she restore the balance? Take a deep breath, then a sip, and step into Ardverse through the QR portal above for the full incredible story. Oh, you know, I didn't even see that. Like, I did not even see that, and I really should have, and now I feel like an idiot. Shall we do it? Shall we see what the fuss is all about? Huh? We might as well. Well, we scanned it, and it has nutritional information. Hey, it just takes you to the shop. Ah, that's a bit of a letdown. I was expecting some like glorious augmented reality shit coming, vapors rising, whatever. But no, it just takes you to the shop. Okay, so yeah, there you go. That's what we know about the whiskey. We know why it's called Heavy Vapours. And now today we learned something new about purifiers, which I didn't know much about, and now I do, and now you do too. And if you already knew, well, you wasted your time. And if I said something wrong, which I'm sure I have, just you know you're gonna put it down in the comment below, aren't you? Well, you are. So do it. In the meantime, let's drink the whiskey. Alrighty then. There you go. That's what it looks like. It is quite light in color, quite light, which makes me think, because I suspect this is about at least a 10-11-year-old whiskey, that there's a lot of second fill bourbon in here, and maybe not a lot of first. So maybe they weren't too confident about this distillate. Maybe they were like, hey man, let's not put it in our first fill bourbon barrels. We might what if we fuck this up? So let's just use a lot of second fills, and just make sure that if we do fuck it up, well, we'll find a way to recover it. So, and I think it's easier also to work with second, third fill barrels, because you know the flavor hasn't imparted that much intensity into the spirit, and so you can use some of the first fills to try and compensate. I think. I mean, if I was a whiskey maker, I'd be doing that, right? Anyway, so this is what we have. This is what it looks like. Yes. Colors. I mean, it's very sort of white wine Chardonnay color. Now, here's my beef. Okay, it's I want to say it's a legitimate beef. Okay, but let's do the aromas first. very maritime. There I get sea salt, black peppers, charred fishnets. Yes, charred fishnets. A very, very sharp citrus, lemon and lime. And just a hint of some peppers in there. Like maybe white pepper, you know. Now, this is what my gripe with this whiskey is. Should we do the gripe now? Or just leave it to the end? Let's gripe at the end, okay? And everything is time-stamped, so if you want to go straight to the gripe, you can. In the meantime, let's taste it. Nose is not, I mean, it's not bad. It's a very typical Ardbeg. It's a very nondescript Ardbeg nose. You'd be like, okay, I get it. It's an Ardbeg. Cool. What do you want me to say? You know? But let's drink it. Let's drink it first. And chin chin. Let's do that. I know I do all these theatrics, but I've already drunk the whiskey, so I have the tasting notes here. It's quite savory. The citrus is there, that lemon and lime. I get white sugar, just a hint. Not very sweet, but just some hint of white sugar in there. It's quite ashy, lots of soot, and finally burnt ends. Okay, so that's as far as the flavor profile. Yeah, that's as far as the flavor profile. Now, what do I think? What do I think? Okay, let's get on to our next section where we unload, where we emotionally unload. Okay, let's go. I'm not gonna call it final thoughts anymore. I'm gonna call it emotionally unloading. Okay, let's go. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the whiskey. Okay, this is the festival release. This is bottled specially for the Islay Whiskey Festival, Fish Isle, and you know what? It tastes almost like the regular Ardbeg 10, and it's not as good as the regular Ardbeg 10. That's all I can say about it. You know, you would have thought that after 11 years it would be a little more mellow, a little more rounded, better balanced in terms of its wood maturation, but it's not. It's very, very sharp, extremely sharp. That citrus is super sharp, and the whiskey seems very young for some reason. I'm not sure if they've added any sort of younger whiskeys in this. I'm not 100% sure, but if it's the batch that they say it is, which was distilled 12 years ago, then this doesn't feel like an 11-year-old whiskey roughly. And I don't really get any of those heavy vapors. Like, where's the oiliness? You know, when I read about this, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be stanky, super oily, super viscous, lots of diesel engine oil, all of those notes that I really like, sort of industrial grease. You know what I mean? Those heavy that you find in a good long row. You know, I used to get those in the long row 14. There was a long row 14 Burgundy cask that I have. I think it's up here somewhere, which is that viscous mouthfeel, that diesel oil industrial feel, and with the cocoa caramel sweetness. But this, no, it's not there. It's not there at all. This is like drinking a slightly sharp 10-year-old. Which on its own, if you think about it, yeah, it's okay, it's not bad. But then when you put it in context, that, excuse me, this is the 2023 festival release for the Islay Whiskey Festival and all of that drama that goes with it. Why does it taste like any other regular Ardbeg, and now we have to pay twice the price for it? And so for that reason, I am not happy with this whiskey. There's nothing truly remarkable about it at all. It's not that it's, and when I say remarkable, I mean it could have been either really, really bad, and I would have been, oh yeah, well, they tried and they fucked it up and it's okay, you know, shit happens. Or it would have been phenomenal with this new tasting experience and what have you. But as it turns out, it's so underwhelming. It just, it is truly a mundane drinking experience, unfortunately. And which is why I'm upset that I have to drink it, because I was expecting so much, and I think I would have loved to have seen an Ardbeg that was super, super oily, super, super viscous, had like a big fat mouthfeel, and it just stank of diesel oil, you know, or linseed oil or paraffin, or one of those flavor profiled. And then I wish it had some really good super sweetness and citrus working with it, and then that would have just been, oh, that would have been such a perfect whiskey. But no, it's not. It's kind of, I mean, I have to buy it. I have to add it to my shelf, obviously, or else, you know, people are not going to be happy. So I have to do that. But so, yes, this is the face of disappointment. Cue sad music. Okay, so yeah, there it is, man. A very underwhelming release from Ardbeg for their festival release. I would have liked taxing, a little more challenging, but this is just what? Yeah, whatever. I mean, if you gave this to me blind and you're like, hey, would you like an Ardbeg? I'd be like, yeah, sure, and then I'd drink it. I'd be like, oh, you got one of the older 10s. This is all right, not a bad whiskey. Let's just drink one dram and then we'll find something else to drink that really challenges my palate, because this is not doing it. So yeah, that's it. I don't know what else to say. Rating. Let's give it a rating. What rating can I give it? Shall I be harsh? Because, you know, I'm always so lenient and happy to, you know, give away mad scores to Ardbeg, and I always say, you know, oh, you know, every scoring of mine comes with 20% emotional baggage. Yes, so I'm not going to do that today, and I'm going to give this whiskey, everything considered, you know, having put everything in context, I'm going to give this whiskey a 5.5 C minus. It's a pretty bad score. It's a pretty bad score. Really bad score. Yes. And also, I wanted to make a point with this video is that I'm not a shill. I'm not a Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy shill that so many of you accuse me of being. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking with you. I'm just genuinely not happy with this whiskey, and I wish it was like I had wanted it to be, but it's not. And so I'm just gonna leave it on the shelf. Probably not drink it again. And that's it. That's all I have to say about this whiskey. And like I said, there's never a good way to end a video, so I'm just gonna be like, I'm the Malt Activist. Until next time, peace.